Good evening. I'd like to call the Parks and Recreation Committee meeting of Tuesday, February 17th to order. Before we start, I'd like to start with the Pembroke Land Acknowledgement Statement, first of all. As we gather today, I would respectfully acknowledge on behalf of Council and the community that the City of Pembroke resides on the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We thank the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. It is with this statement that we honor and respect the Algonquins on whose land we reside. Before we start the meeting, I would like to start with a moment of silence in remembrance of those who lost their lives at the Tumbler Ridge incident that happened. And on behalf of this council and our entire community, we want to tell the families, friends, and community at large at Tumbler Ridge that our community mourns with yours. So a moment of silence, if we could all stand. Thank you. So I'd like to call this meeting to order. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest in general nature thereof? Seeing none, could I have a motion to approve the meeting agenda? Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by the Mayor. All in favor? The Parks and Recreation Committee minutes of December 16th were circulated. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Keel. All in favor? Any business arising from those minutes? Seeing none. We have our presentation tonight from the OPP. It's a review of the 2025 statistics, and we have Acting Inspector Sarah Dara. Dara?
Dara.
Dara, very good, from the OPP. Go ahead, Sarah.
Perfect. Thank you for having me, first of all. In with a bang. As most of you are aware, this is my first time sitting in this seat. I'd be remiss if I didn't speak to the fact that now Superintendent Neufeld held this role for 8 years. So, and I know he put forth a lot of effort into this community and took great pride in this community. So I have big shoes to fill in the interim, and I am going to try to provide you with the necessary information tonight. So I will run through a bit of an overview of 25. I will speak to what 2026 will look like, and then if there are any questions, please feel free to ask me. So 2025 on a whole is quite productive for the city of Pembroke with the OPP. To touch base on a few stats that I know are quite important to Pembroke. Sorry, I am trying to sync up with him. No, we're good. We're good. I'm going to get you to flip to the next slide. Perfect. So our strategic plan guides how we operate within the OPP, and as you can see, it's 2023 to 2025. So it's applicable for 2025. We're still using it right now until the 2026 one is produced, and I will speak to some priorities of 2026. But for right now, I know in speaking with Superintendent Neufeld and just understanding the city, some of the prolific things that have touched the city are drug crime. And I do want to highlight that our drug occurrences for 2025 year to date decreased 26.8%. I am going to suggest that is due to the efforts of our community street crime unit, who's been out and about. I'm sure you've seen a lot of the warrants that they have enacted throughout the city. With that said, our trafficking charges did go up by 83%. But that is a direct correlation of the warrants that were executed within this city. So that, I mean, positive, negative, you look at it the way you will. I'll look at it as positive. We have charged these individuals. We have got the product off the street, and so that and our occurrences in all have dropped by 26%. So very, very positive in that front. When we look at the overdose component, we had 1 overdose compared to 9 in 2024. So that is a significant win. There's a lot of pieces to that. I believe that the education piece through our MCERT team has been beneficial in that. If you're not familiar, our MCERT team is an OPP officer with a crisis worker that is out in the community going to calls for service, supporting members in crisis, and so attributing what I would believe to the success of the decrease in overdoses, as well as like I said, the charges that came through with the warrants. In speaking with the mental health component, for 2025, we saw an increase in 15 calls for service. I take that as a win as well. In the society that is continually evolving, mental health is a major component. And the work of the MCERT team in conjunction with the hospital has been extremely beneficial, and they are able to keep these numbers leveled throughout year to date because they are providing services. They are engaging with these individuals so that we aren't seeing the increase in calls for service continuously. They are being able to provide them with the needs, the things that they need to help them succeed. So a very, very positive for this community. Another component that I would like to put out there, I know that it's very important to see officers in the community, see those boots on the ground. Year to date, there's been a 36.5 increase and 94 hours of foot patrol, which is up from 2024, where it was 88 hours of foot patrol year to date. So officers are putting boots to the ground, contributing to the contributings. The other component that we're seeing is an increase in foot patrols, an increase in directed patrols, my apologies, which is highway traffic enforcement patrols within the community. And we've seen an increase in 36.5% in Highway Traffic Act charges within the community of Pembroke. So again, it's the direct correlation of the officers putting their patrols down in the streets of Pembroke. So I'm going to roll on through, and I'm going to speak to some of the priorities that we are going to work on for 2026 and what it will do for the community. So we speak about our people, an empowered and respectful workforce is what is important to us. As you can see on the next slide, there will be some pictures of some of the efforts that our members out in the community. So for 2025, we received 4 new recruits to the Pembroke detachment. We are scheduled to receive 4 at the end of this month, so which is a significant increase in officers coming to our area. We also saw 2 lateral transfers in 2025. Most recently, we saw the promotion of Staff Sergeant Tina Davenport as our operational manager. Tina brings a wealth of knowledge with her to the community, having worked in our community prior. So Tina is a valued asset of our community. One of my main priorities for 2026 is to ensure that our workforce, our membership, is psychologically and physically safe. And why is that important? Well, that means that those officers have boots on the ground within our community and to be able to respond to calls for service, participate in events, and whatnot. My goal is to ensure increased training and development. We have leaders within our detachment, in our organization, and I want to develop them. I want to keep them here within this community, and it's very important for me. And I'm not just speaking to promotional things. It's coaches. I want to attract new members. I want to keep them here. So we need coaches. We need to develop them into specialty services in our community street crime unit, into our mental health unit. So there's a big focus on that development piece this year. And as I said, the retention piece, it's very, very important for me to retain these officers, keep them here, and build that strong camaraderie within our community. And in turn, if they know the area, they have the ability to police it much, much better. Our work is the next priority area that falls under the strategic plan. The next page just shows some of the things that were accomplished in 2025. When we speak to to the drug enforcement and the drug concerns within the city of Pembroke, we have, as an organization, we have put boots to the ground with the community street crime unit, enforcing warrants, a surveillance, dealing with the problem of the drug subculture in that way. What we're doing now is what is called the Offender Management Apprehension Program. So that is, the commissioner is one of his priorities, and it's essentially bail reform. So an emphasis is going on ensuring that offenders, high risk, are abiding by their bail release conditions. And how this looks when we look at the drug ratio or any of the high criminal value calls that we have dealt with, we will now be checking on these individuals that are out on forms of release, whether it be probation, parole releases, whether it be curfew, different things like that, house arrest. And it is to ensure that they are abiding by these conditions. And if they're not, we're going to be arresting them. We're going to be putting them back into the courts, hoping that they are putting the onus back on the courts to give them stronger sentences. We are not fooling around anymore. This is the goal here. So yes, obviously we're still going to be dealing with the street crime. We're still going to have our boots on the ground with our officers, but this is now a new tool for us. And what is great about this is that most attachments across the province have been assigned one offender management and apprehension officer. We have been assigned two. So what that means is that they have the ability to go out, do these checks. So it's going to take away from that front line. We're not going to be asking the frontline officers to go out and do these checks, which, ultimately, I don't think I have to explain it. It just gives back. They have a better ability to respond to calls for service, to do those foot patrols, do those highway traffic act infractions. And we'll also be working collaboratively with our crime unit, with the courts, to ensure that penalties are imposed on them, that we are following through with this, and working with probation and parole, because a lot of our people that we're going to be checking in are their offenders. So we're already seeing, it just started at the end of January, and we're already seeing an improvement. They're also going to target outstanding warrants, because that is a reality. There are several outstanding warrants, and we're going to set the message that this is what we are doing. We don't want this in our community, and that is the goal. Traffic management. So 2025, we did see an increase in traffic management, and we're going to continue to see that increase. What I have done is I have implemented what I call a traffic management officer. So what they will be doing is they will be obviously dealing with traffic infractions, but they'll also be dealing with our focus patrol. So in your communities, if there are complaints about speeding or failing to stop at stop signs or school zones, they will be dedicated to those areas so that we will get that presence. They'll also be dealing with commercial motor vehicle initiatives. We actually just had one, I believe, the end of January within the city, and you would be very shocked on the statistics of how many infractions were done that day. So you will see that rotating through. They'll also be participating in provincial traffic initiatives and addressing any traffic complaints that are in close proximity to them within the city. So again, this also will alleviate the front line as well. Another positive. A small step, but certainly it will alleviate some of the pressures and allow a greater response time. RIDE. we have been very fortunate to receive the RIDE grant. The great part about the RIDE grant this year is that previous years it was for 1 year, so you had to apply every year. This year we were able to apply, and it is for 4 years. So we have it until 2029, which is very, very positive. So that will be distributed amongst the communities, because that is the other aspect of it, is that it has to be distributed throughout. But Pembroke has already seen 3 rides within its community, and we're trying to ensure that it's happening, when there's events going on, major events, but that also, and that's just the grant itself. That doesn't take away from the actual rides that officers are conducting throughout the year. And as you can see, our rides year to date are up 5% from 2024. Our impaired charges are also up 6% year to date. Again, you can look at it as positive. Unfortunately, they are out on the road, but we are getting them off the road. So. And then the next pillar is our communities. You can see some of our officers out and about. So for 2026, you will see an increased presence in the schools within the city. We got away from it for a bit. There was conversation and communication between some of the school boards, but that gap has since been closed, and there is a very positive presence when the officers are going into these schools. And I would like our interactions with our youth to be in that positive setting, opposed to it not being. And so starting those interactions and whatnot. So yes, you will see a greater presence. So if you see the cruisers there, please don't be alarmed. It's not always that. As I did speak, foot patrols, there is up 7% since 2025, and we will continue to attend community events. I know we are already booked to attend the Community Expo. We did the Stuff the Cruiser within the city that was extremely successful, and many other events like Cops Kids Fishing. That is also on the agenda as well. And as I spoke a little bit about the mobile crisis team already, there's continued emphasis on that program. We have seen the benefits of it. We have been successful in getting the 2025-2026 Community Safety and Policing Grant, which does support that program. So it's very, very important for us. I believe that our officers and the crisis workers are doing a significant job in this community and truly making an impact, and I want to see this continue. I know Tori said I had 15 minutes. I talked a little quick.
You did a great job. Don't be nervous when you come.
Can you
A
tell
lot
I'm
of people
nervous?
would be a lot more nervous, so that's fine.
Oh, sorry. Actually, I did miss something.
Okay, go ahead.
My apologies. It hasn't been released yet, but I know that there was input received in relation to the 2026-20 to 2029 action plan for the Upper Ottawa Valley Detachment, and there was direct input from this council. And I had the lovely opportunity of creating this. And I just want to highlight that although it's not out in circulation yet, your concerns and your comments were taken into consideration. And one of our commitments under our crime proactive is that we will continue to enhance proactive patrol and initiatives to target specific local crime trends, continued drug enforcement and suppression, and reduce victimization while increasing community safety. So that has been directly implemented into this, and actions and outcomes will proceed.
Thank you. That was a great side note. I'm sure there was counselors waiting for that one. So Councillor Keel, and then anyone else want to speak? Go ahead.
Okay, a lot of things going on. Certainly, I want to highlight a point that I think you were making, which was that when our residents are looking at statistics, there are many ways to look at statistics, and you can't ever just high level look at a statistical number and make a conclusion from it. And to a point that you were underscoring, if we didn't do any traffic enforcement this year, and then we did 1,000 hours of traffic enforcement next year, the numbers would look as though they're through the roof. That doesn't mean that there weren't issues this year.
Yeah.
It might say 0% this year, but if we're not out there and we're not, for things like the ride program or whatnot, sometimes the more you look for something, the more you find it. So I do want residents, when they hear statistics, to pause for a second, because I remember back in my days of sitting on the police services board, and the mayor certainly has been on the police services board for many years. You might see something, children abductions up 100%, and you might think, oh my God, but it went from 1 to 2. That's not good, but certainly I want all residents, when they're hearing these statistics, to take a moment, and if they're really interested in something, they should either contact the police services board or whatnot, and get fuller information before they read too much into things. The collaborative mental health component, that I think is so hugely important. It is, I think we first got a social worker in the mid-20-teens, because that's when I was on the police services board. I mean, that kind of program not only better benefits the resident that's having an issue, but it benefits the police as well. Police are not social workers, they're not psychiatrists, they're trained in many, many, many things. But this is about getting the appropriate help, which is not always a police officer in a vest with a gun showing up to the door. And to that end, I think there's a lot of, and I heard some of this weekend while I was out and about during Snow Spree. When you hear things like defund the police and those kinds of excessive things, nobody's talking about taking money away from the needed police. What some people are talking about is putting better resources where a police resource is just not the right fit. So I'm so happy that we're not just continuing with the mental health collaboration, but that we're continuing to strengthen it. With respect to the foot patrols, I'm personally a little less satisfied. When this council voted in December of 2024 to request increased foot patrols, 88 hours to 94 was not necessarily what I had in mind. So I will say I'm a little disappointed with that one. The increase in officers, I was able to express our thanks along with the deputy mayor when we met with the Solicitor General at Roma last month, and he was very keen to point out the number of officers that we were getting and that we were looking to get, and certainly that I'm hoping that will have a broader effect on things such as our overtime and other costs that have been going up. So while you'll have more people to manage, I'm certainly happy that that's the case. Tina Davenport, what a great promotion that is. Not only an excellent police officer, also an excellent softball player, and I have no doubt that she would also say I was an excellent umpire. It's a shame she's not here to corroborate that, but I'm sure it's true. The OMAP is actually the thing that I am most excited about. Sorry, I'm trying to go as fast as possible. We hear a lot, again, it's my problem with crime, and I don't know if the mayor will speak to this, but as lawyers, the headlines don't cover the substance of a lot of the issues. A lot of the things where you get a political, and I'll use one, the catch and release. It's more complicated than that. The reality is, since the 1800s, Canada has had a bail system, and the vast majority of people who are charged are released, whether they're charged by the officer with a notice to appear, or whether they go to bail court and the Justice of the Peace releases them. The vast majority of people charged are out on release. And that's just a matter of you're innocent until proven guilty, and that's the kind of system that we have. But the problems that we have seen, I think, are directly addressed by increased action, because when you're out on bail, when you're out on a conditional sentence, nobody said that you're that you have all the same freedoms that you had before. It should be more scrutinized. You should be checked upon. So all of the efforts that the OPP, whether it's the upper tiers or whether it's right here at home, I think this program could be a real difference maker. I look forward to hearing how this implementation goes. I'm ecstatic to hear that for you that's an important priority for our detachment, and I really think that could make, I think, more difference than us having an argument and debate about innocence until proven guilty and whether or not people should be out. And just from my perspective, and I've said this to people out on the streets, we don't have enough jails to put everybody in jail that gets charged. It's never been a thing. It's not even remotely possible, but it's programs like this that we do need to look at. So I'm very excited to that, and I hope whether it's next year or the next time you're back that perhaps we'll have some data and some thoughts on whether that's as positive a program as I hope it is. The RIDE program, I did have one question on that one. I remember back in law school, it was often, again, statistics, that it was the older generations, the drinking and driving, and that was kind of going through. But my understanding is that we might somewhat be on an upswing of the younger generation now. I don't want to say for the first time, but is that what we're seeing?
I can't speak to stats. It's certainly the demographic. There is a variety of demographic that we are seeing. I also do, I apologize. My nerves got the best of me. And when I spoke about the foot patrols, those hours are absolutely not correct. My apologies. Those are for the last quarter of our year. So I apologize for that stat, and I will certainly update the mayor with the proper stat. So it is just an increase for those 3 months. So that's 90 some hours for 3 months. So my apologies to council for that error.
Okay, I thought I had heard 2024 and 2025.
Yeah, you absolutely
Okay.
did, and that was an error on my part. My apologies.
Okay, and then the last thing that you commented on was the positive first contact. I'm so happy to hear that we're going to be going back into the schools. I know that relationship has been on and off over the decades. And then just today at lunch, a number of your officers, I think at least a half dozen, were at Holy Trinity Church for their pancake lunch. And it's just so good to see that kind of community engagement. And anytime someone's first contact with a police officer can be a positive, good contact, I think goes a long way for when you do have a different interaction, whether it's as a witness, whether it's maybe something small, a little traffic violation. But I think if you can be comfortable with our local police force, I think that goes a long way for both sides of the fence on that one. And I'm glad that that continues to be a priority, as I know it was with Inspector Neufeld. He would say that all the time, that the positive first contact is what the police are looking for. So thank you so much. That was a really good presentation, and I hope we'll have you back.
Thank you. Any other member, Deputy Mayor? And I'm going to speak from the chair once everyone else is done.
Thank you for coming. And it's good to see the numbers going down in the drug crime and that, but I know there's still a lot of work to do. I know you're out there, and the mobile crisis team is very important for targeted intervention. On behalf of the mayor and myself, as co-chairs of the Pembroke Community Watch Program, we want to thank you again, the involvement of the OPP and the partnership, coming to our twice-year meetings, and it has proven to work, especially with the drug houses and the ongoing neighborhood informing the police of what's going on, and some charges being laid. So the whole goal of Community Watch is to create safe, welcoming communities, and the police are an integral part of that. So on behalf of the committee and the group, I want to thank you again.
Mayor Jerva?
So just very briefly, because it's already been, Councillor Keel's covered off all the different points. So just wanted to thank you for coming. That's the first thing. The second thing is just to pound away just at this one particular point, is the tearing down of silos. What I've noticed over the last 3 years is tearing down of silos, because as the now commissioner would say, superintendent, he says, I don't have anything on my tool belt that's going to handle certain things. And it's making sure that the right resources are at the right place, right time, that sort of thing. And so, like, even I wrote down drug strategy committee. And so just to see all the resources there and no silos, it's like, okay, so what are you dealing with? This is what we're dealing with. And, you know, when we call, this is what this particular topic is, because not every discipline is necessarily cut out for the certain call that's being made, but it's making sure that the right resources and there's proper communication. And so I think that's the piece that impresses me the most, is the willingness, because, you know, we can say as much as we want in terms of at these committees, we don't want, you know, silos, we don't want boundaries and so forth. It takes the willingness of each of, you know, the OPP, the health unit and so forth. It takes the willingness to proceed with that, because we can stomp our feet all we want, but it's actually having the buy-in from all those organizations, and in particular the OPP, because I know that there has been criticisms in the past that you know, bigger organizations perhaps are not willing to necessarily adapt, but clearly the OPP is willing to adapt, is willing to break down those silos, and willing to work together so that all the right resources are coming to the aid of the individuals that are our ratepayers. So just wanted to thank you for coming, and couldn't agree with Councillor Keel more in terms of all the different points, particularly in terms of when you look at the data. That's why it's so important to have the presentation, not just the data, not just the report. You need the presentation to be able to say, and this is why it's trending a certain way, or this is what's going on. Because without that, you might be led astray. Thank you.
Okay, very quickly.
Just want to say, because I know we do get quite a lot of people watching, I didn't bring up any costing or anything like that, simply because that's not our local inspector's job. The deputy mayor and I did meet with the Solicitor General at Roma to talk about the cost and the 11% increase. The reason nobody would be hearing that from around this table is that's just not our local inspector's job.
Good. I'm glad the public is happy you clarified that. So I just want to say that Councillor Keel covered a lot of what I had scribbled down here, but something I want to just reiterate is the importance of getting involved in the schools. When I started on the Police Services Board 3 years ago, you were not in the schools, and that was a concern of mine, and I voiced it, and I'm so happy to see that, because you're absolutely correct. In every community right now that is dealing with drug and crime charges, often the first experience a young person has is a negative one. Maybe they're fearful of law enforcement because maybe their family, you know, was engaged in illegal activity. Who knows the reason? But it's so important to know they can go to one of our officers when they're feeling in danger and that they can trust them. So kudos to the department. My other thing is the bail reform. I'm so excited about this. So over the past years, you know, and I mean, social media just takes it and runs too, right? It's like you see familiar names getting charged and they're out a week later. I'm happy to see that I noticed in the last few, I guess, busts, if you want to call it, certain individuals were not released because they were in breach. And I think that is the important part. And as Councillor Keel said, yes, you are not found guilty until you go to court. But these individuals were already guilty, and they were not completely free, as Councillor Keel said. So the fact that maybe they're being retained, the community can feel maybe a little better knowing that they're going to have to pay the piper one way or another, and they're not being released. So that was very exciting, and I too look forward to the statistics, because this just started very recent.
Yes, just implemented at the end of January. So obviously,
Yeah.
as you can imagine, some learning curves to get going completely, but
Yeah, good.
certainly 2 officers in the role that are meant to be in that role and
Good.
have that as a priority.
Great, well, thank you very much. Are there any other comments? No? Thank you for your report.
Thank you
And
very
you
much.
did great.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, thank you. Okay. New business, we have our Trepidie, I'm combining the two words, Treasurer Deputy Clerk Lochte with the proposed PACC Reserve Fund.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening. So the draft reserve and reserve fund policy presented to Council in 2025 included initially a proposed score clock reserve fund. So this was originally, this reserve fund originally appeared in the 2025 budget, but as committee and council had further questions, this new reserve fund was pulled from the policy pending additional information. So per the Director of Parks and Recreation, Jordan DeRoche, the Pembroke Minor Hockey Association has agreed to sell advertising space at the PACC, provided that 40% of advertising fees collected are placed in a reserve fund for the benefit of improvement projects at the arena as mutually agreed upon between the association staff and council. So a new score clock was one example of a future upgrade, but no specific project has been determined at this time. So from staff's point of view, this partnership agreement is considered a win-win. The association can use their connections in the community to seek out advertising revenue for the city without the need for staff time, and the PACC will benefit from a new revenue source to fund future projects at the arena. So if we don't consider this, we do expect to have lower advertising revenues as there are limited staff time available for this activity. So this does support community partnerships. So included in this report is a draft resolution, which if council committee agrees, this would come before council at the next meeting. So it is the recommendation that the Parks and Recreation Committee recommend the creation of a new PACC reserve fund as set out in Annex A of this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments, questions, direction? Councillor Keel.
Sorry, unfortunately, we were all talking before we came online about computers doing wonky things, and mine decided to reset, and it just kind of came back on. So the only question I had, so it literally just came back. So the only thing that I don't agree with and will not support is the idea that the transfers out require the mutual agreement of the Hockey Association. The reality is this is a win-win in the sense that we're splitting revenues, but the idea that we need somebody else's permission to use our share of the revenue, I mean, we've already, this term, we've already seen a couple hiccups with us not being on the same page as other fundraising groups. The reality is we could sell our own, whether it's at the PACC or whether it's a PMC, we could be selling the things ourselves and making full revenue. We could be running our own canteens and making the revenue, but we allow other groups into our facilities to, to sell things that we ourselves could be selling and making money off of, using to put back into our facilities. So I'm fine with this being a joint project. I'm fine with us sharing the revenues, but I'm not okay with us having to seek permission to use our share of the revenue on projects. So I would not support that unless there's an explanation that I'm missing on that. But I'm fine with everything else, just not us needing permission to use our share of the revenue.
Jordan, would you like to respond?
Sure, yeah. Through the chair, so that's a really great question. And you're absolutely right. Typically what happens is that we approach somebody, so in this case it would be the association, we have a discussion about what we're kind of looking for. A lot of times we are aligned, so I mean a lot of times those things are going to work, and I think that our alignment comes because we have a really good working relationship with them. So just to clarify that we would broach the situation and we would come to them with something that we would be in need of. Thank you. I should clarify. When we're going to them, it's because we're looking for funding. We're looking to share a project. So if we were looking to replace the score clock as an example, and it was $30,000, and maybe we had $15,000 in reserve, our conversation would be because we would be asking them if they'd be interested in partnering with us to replace the score clock. I hope that makes sense. Thank you.
So I suppose I would be happier if it was our good relationship working on joint projects, as opposed to it being a rule that we have to have their consent to spend the money. I mean, I certainly am happy that we have, and I think over the last several years, including, I'm not trying to suck up, but including under your leadership, relationship building has been a key part of it. So my only issue is the transfer out as mutually agreed upon between Pembroke and MHA. I just think we should, in collaboration with them, of course, but not as a rule. So that's my only issue.
Further comments, Deputy Mayor?
The chair for Mr. DeRoche. Has there been any issues before with the mutual agreement? Any quarrels, or you have a great relationship with minor hockey? We do.
Yeah, so through the chair, I think to Councillor Keel's point, I think that we've got better at relationships with different organizations. The Hockey Association is one of them. We meet on a regular basis. I mean, I don't recall of anything in the past. I think that communication is key, and it's just something that we've been doing more of, and I think that we're more aligned as a result. Thank you.
Any further comments? I can speak from the chair. I understand Councillor Keel's concern. I've been here a long time around the council table. I understand that there's a great relationship right now between the existing recreation director and the group. However, I've also seen where positions change, people in those positions change, and then sometimes agreements are misinterpreted. So I guess the concern is that maybe we decide, okay, we do need to put that money here, and they don't want to. I mean, this is so specific, though. This is for the clock, right? Like this is for anything.
Yeah, that's
They're
correct.
talking
So-
about the clock at first, but this is just a reserve for arena-related.
That's correct. Yeah, the
Exactly.
score clock is just an example.
So I guess that I kind of tend to agree with Councillor Keel, where maybe we would see a priority that they wouldn't think was as important, so that may cause some issues going down the road, but I don't know if you can massage this a little more, but it does say mutually agreed to, but then the money could stay there a long time if, if they thought, well, it needs to go here when we want it to go somewhere else. So I kind of do have a problem with that term as well. So I don't know if...
So a proposed amendment is for the authority to say that it's determined by the City Recreation Committee in collaboration with MHA as a partner, but with city having final authority, something to that effect. Okay.
Deputy Mayor?
So based upon that, motion to approve the recommendation.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Keel to revise the agreement as per the treasurer. Thank you. Okay, so call the question. All in favor? Approved. Thank you. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Angela. Okay, next. Friends of the Regional Pool Committee, Memorandum of Understanding, Director DeRoche.
All right, thank you. So the recommendation for this report is that the Parks and Recreation Committee endorse and recommend to Council the approval of the Memorandum of Understanding between the City of Pembroke and the Friends of the Regional Pool Committee. So I won't read the entire background, but I do want to highlight 3 key dates that are in the report. So on January 4th, 2024, an inspector from the Ministry of Labour visited the facility and deemed that it was unsafe for our workers. The following day, on January 5th, 2024, during budget deliberations, Council's decision to close the facility to the public occurred. And finally, on January 16th, 2024, Parks and Recreation Committee, Council moved that repairs to the Kinsman Pool at a cost of $1.4 million, pending commitment from surrounding municipalities, municipal partners, and other sources. So following this, Following this, the Friends of the Regional Pool Committee was formed, and then further to this, Council had directed staff to develop an MOU with the Friends of the Regional Pool Committee. So the MOU highlights financial commitment, works, and general terms of the agreement, and the agreement will serve as a 2-year term with an opportunity to renew. Thank you.
Questions, comments? Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, maybe we'll get things things started. So I'm always in favor of partnerships, because obviously partnerships reduce the cost to the ratepayer and at the same time improves the chances of success in terms of grants. I know that the pre-budget meetings that the province of Ontario held, there was the parliamentary assistant to the Minister of Finance, which is MPP Smith. He led me with a good feeling that in terms of renewing the funds available for the renovations to existing facilities, that's what I was left with. It'll, like our budget process, it remains to be seen how things roll out as they run through their budget process. I would think that if I'm the friends of the regional pool, I can see why they want some sort of structure, some sort of well, a structure or documented, this is what it looks like going forward, wanting things like having a wall to acknowledge the different individuals that are sponsoring and providing funds and so forth. And I think gone are the days that the municipality is going to go it alone, and that the municipality is going to build structures and so forth without the buy-in from the from different, whether it be interest groups. Even look at the current facility. You go in and you see the plaque on the wall, and you see all the different individuals and organizations that gave money, and so that's what it was necessary to get there. And I know in speaking to some of the different individuals, this is, I guess, late last year, just having conversations with them in terms of they want to do more, they want to do different things, and just want to know that they're supported, and that when they approach different individuals in the public and so forth, that there is some sort of structure to it, and that, you know, if I'm providing funds to this organization, they know how it is that request is being made, and that it isn't just, you know, someone going forward and asking for money from them. So I don't have any issues with them wanting to have some sort of structure and so forth. And, you know, perhaps there's some questions or what have you in terms of what the memorandum of understanding is. And, you know, and if there's a time limit on the as I see that there is, you know, we'll presumably find our way through it as we move forward. But, you know, I'm pleased to see wanting to develop some sort of structure behind what the partnership is, as opposed to just, you know, friendly conversations. Because as was mentioned earlier, in terms of sometimes the players change, and when the players change, then sometimes that changes where you're going. At least there's some structure, and then, you know, if there's an expiry, there's a sunset, well then, you know, at that time you reevaluate it and say, okay, where are we headed? But certainly I think, you know, having some sort of structure assists when we're making grant applications, because I firmly believe in terms of even the water grant that we received, being able to say, hey, we have a water sewer agreement with the neighboring municipality. It's like, there's another checkbox, and you know, it's things like that you can point to. So I'm pleased with it, Director.
Deputy Mayor.
So first of all, I want to publicly thank the fundraising committee for the pool. They've worked very hard and raised their contribution to fix the pool, and they're still in existence, and I commend them, because it's the only pool we have for now, and it needs some new lockers and change room upgrades and amongst other things. So I want to publicly commend them and thank them. This is a good MOU to have, 2-year renewal. So I motion that we endorse and recommend to the council the approval of the MOU between the City of Pembroke and the Friends of the Regional Pool Committee.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Plummer. And further comments, Councillor Keel?
So again, it's just the practical side of this I'm not understanding. So we're entering into an MOU so that they have the authority to be raising money for the pool, which I'm in agreement with. The funds will be remitted to the city when targets to specific projects are met. So is the idea that we're going to come up with a specific project, fundraise for that specific project, as opposed to a general fundraising?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just think that could be maybe made a little clearer in number 5. Because I mean, I guess to part of what the mayor was saying, and I'm following along with what the mayor's saying to a point, but you know, so they're saying that they have Pembroke's, the city's authority to help fundraise for a project. and then the 2 years comes to an end, and they haven't met their goal, they haven't remitted the money, what happens at the end of the 2 years? As has been said, sometimes relationships break down. Sometimes there's, I took some flack, actually a year ago, this meeting, because a fundraising group came to the city saying, we're not giving you money we said we were going to give you until you, I believe it was, commit to a new pool project or something. And I was like, whoa, 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 that's not what we've been talking about for a year. So I just, like, I like the concept of the MOU. I just, at the end of the day, like, I'm not sure what happens if there's money left and it's not renewed. I mean, we're gonna have a new council. This is gonna come up potentially with a whole different group around this table. So if the next council says we're not renewing this, one of my questions would be, so where's that money that was fundraised on the back of the city's okay or whatnot? So that's my, I mean, I don't have a particular issue now that you've said that we're going to set projects, set targets for them, like we need new lockers, we need X money. When we get to that, we remit the money. But I do have some concerns in terms of what happens if this falls apart, and am I then going to have people yelling at me saying, well, you told us the money was for Kinsman Pool, and now there's been a breakdown in the relationship, and where's the money, who has it? And that, none of that is addressed. So I think if we're going to talk about a 2-year window, I think we should also be talking about how the wind up, either at the end of, I'm hoping this isn't 2 years. I would, for so many decades, the Kinsman Pool had the support of the Kinsman Club and whatnot, which through no fault of anybody's, the Kinsman Club just sort of, faded away. Same problem a lot of our groups are having in terms of membership. But I'm just wondering at the end of it, and if there's any problem, this speaks to everything being nice and friendly and wonderful. I'm wondering what happens if we have to wind this agreement up, if the next council doesn't, and then, money sitting there, is that getting remitted to the city, or is that to be used by the group for, I don't even know, like, the people, I guess, donating money should have the right to know where the money's going, but we only talk about the positive goal is met, money's remitted side. So I think if you're going to go into an MOU, which is about understanding the relationship, I think this is missing the potential wind up or not so good side of the relationship.
If I could comment, I totally hear what Councillor Keel's saying, because I do believe we were in that situation already, where goals weren't met, and then it was like, what are you going to do with the money? And the money was supposed to go to the original improvement, and that was on the onset of that fundraising. So I think we need to clear up at the end of this 2 years, where does that money go? Yeah, if the goal wasn't met. So we need to tie up that loose end. Like, I think the money should still be retained in a reserve for that project, even if, like, we don't even know if the group would continue after 2 years. So I think we need to tighten the ending up with.
Sure, yep. So through the chair, we can make an adjustment on here,
Yeah.
and then
I think so. So I think we need to just let that go back.
okay.
I agree. Councillor Keel, further?
Would you likely have that for the next Parks and Rec meeting?
Through the chair, there's a good possibility. It's doable.
So I would move that we not table it, but that we postpone this motion to the next meeting of the Parks and Rec Committee.
Yeah. Okay, so that's moved by Councillor Keel and seconded by the mayor. All in favor? Okay, thank you, thank you.
Just for clarification, Madam Clerk, so that will be on the next agenda, right? We won't
Correct.
need a motion. Thank you.
Postponement to the next is explicit enough.
Next on the agenda, Community Recreation Grant Update.
All right, thank
Yes.
you. So the recommendation for this report is that the Parks and Recreation Committee of Council receive this report for information, and that the 2025 Community Recreation Grant update be presented to Council to outline the process achieved in the first year of implementation, along with updates for 2026. So as we know, as a corporation, we've received many requests over the years, and of course, this is why we now have this policy in place, and that the policy does address a variety of requirements that have been identified in this report. So the grant deadline was for April 1st this past year, and we are continuing to have that as our deadline for the spring intake moving forward. Applicants were required to fill out an application form. Applicants were scored using evaluation matrix by our committee. No organization received more than $5,000 of the overall funding envelope, and a listing of approved grants were to be provided to Council and the public annually, which we're doing this evening. So a total of 6 applicants were received. 1 applicant withdrew, 1 was unsuccessful, and 4 were successful. So I put together a grid here just with who was successful and the amount received. So the first one being the Busker Festival. So their request was for operating for the festival itself, and they scored 88%. The Krista Johnson Memorial Run, theirs was also for operating for timing services and signage updates. Their scoring was 77%. Special Olympics was for a capital request, so this funding was to be used for new equipment for a program that they wanted to run. And the final one was the Pembroke Farmers Market. Their request was for operating as well to continue to funding to support the regular entertainment that took place down there. So the way that it was scored was kind of similar, and we kind of adopted this as to how we perform our RFPs. So each committee member was to score the application separately from us, so by themselves. From there, we were met to get numbers, and then those numbers we use as averages. So what we did is we put together a list of how people were to receive the money. So greater than 80% was full funding request, 70 to 79% was 75% of the funding request, and it goes all the way down to less than 60%, which no funding was received. I do want to make a note on full funding requests. So as this grant picks up and there's more and more people in the community that is interested, we could get into a situation where the funding envelope has only so many dollars. So for example, this year we have $20,000. If the intake in April that we get is, say, 5 applications with, they score over 80%, we'd be $5,000 short, basically the way that this reads. However, what we would do there is we would divide it by 5. So if you take your $20,000, divide it by your 5, each person would receive $4,000 in that instance. Also want to note with less than 60%, so no funding received. So typically if someone's scoring less than the 60%, it's typically because they don't meet the policy requirements or the application is missing quite a bit of information. So that's typically their score will be lower naturally. I do have some good news. So in 2026, this year, the department will offer 2 intakes. So we'll have a spring-summer intake. We'll also have a fall-winter intake. And at the time of this report, the policy was being updated, but I can update council that the policy has been updated. So under the Community Recreation Grant Policy number 18 under intake, it reads application intake will occur semi-annually. Deadline for first intake is April 1st. Deadline for second intake is September 1st, and a minimum of 20% of the funding envelope must be available for the second intake. Thank you.
Great. Comments, questions? No. Councillor Keel?
I think I'll ask okay, I have 2 questions. I think I'll direct the first one to our treasurer, who happens to be here. If we were undersubscribed last year, which we were, the undersubscription, would that be like in our surplus when you report later this year? Is there any way for us to mandatorily, what's the word I'm looking for? To carry it over within the program? I'll just stop with the
So through the chair, so we do have a surplus policy, so we would just need to amend it. That's part of our reserve and reserve fund policy, but that is possible if that's the desire of committee.
I mean, I would, for this kind of a thing where we're investing in community program, like, this is different than to me you know, a road project coming under budget or something. So I would personally like to see that if, you know, if we do have the instance where we're undersubscribed, which might not be a problem for many more years when people start finding out about this, I would like to see it just kind of carry it over, because this to me is council choosing to specially invest in community projects. And then to the director, I'm just one, like, for instance, if everybody here scored over 80%, basically Busker Festival would have gotten less than 5,000. Despite prior comments that I've made for completely different reasons, I think Busker Festival is one of our preeminent events right now, and I don't know that I would want them to receive less simply because other projects, and I might take flack for this, but other projects of, to me, lesser economic and community importance happen to tick all the right boxes. I don't know. Maybe I'll just leave it at that, and maybe you don't need to comment on it. But I'm a little concerned that we would invest less in something that I think is vitally important, and that I'm happy to support through this project. I know I've voted against some Busker Fest stuff before, but that's because I didn't like the one-offs to council. I fully support Busker Fest through this new program that we have. I love this new program that we have. But much like the provincial government, you know, we all had that wonderful announcement, you know, where the city received the bulk of the money that came to Renfrew County. Presumably, it's because our project was more expensive and more important. We received more than, you know, the township of Whitewater received. So is there any way for us to look at that wouldn't affect such an important thing, but wouldn't necessarily come down to a ticking the box kind of situation either? Because truthfully, I like Busker Fest getting the maximum 5,000. That made perfect sense to me last year. That's exactly why this program to me is set up. But if they were to receive less simply because other, I hate to keep saying it, to me, less important, less economically important, I don't know. I guess that's my only concern. Otherwise, I love this program. And I'm happy that council this year, I believe, increased the funding. So I'll leave it at that.
You can either answer or I can comment and then you can answer.
If you want to go ahead.
So I just want to comment on Councillor Keel's. I hear what he's saying. I don't recall seeing the criteria of the application, and I know we did, but we see a lot of things coming across our tables. Is there somewhere in the criteria that asks what type of population reach or attendance in the previous event, if it's one that happened? Because I agree, something like Busker Festival brought thousands of people down into our community. I would say thousands. I don't remember the number, but lots. But something smaller might only have 50, 60. So is there something that says if your attendance is over 500, that you automatically are a higher percentage, that you can't get to this top 25% unless you are over a certain amount of people? Do you know what I mean? Because that would guarantee that these larger events that need more money are going to get more. That there is a reserved spot. If you are anywhere above 75%, it means you've brought 500 people into our community minimum, something like that.
Yeah, so to answer your question, without sharing the information in the actual matrix itself, because that's kind of for internal purposes in the committee. But yeah, I mean, there's some points that they would receive because of the nature of the event, and I guess I'll leave it at that, you know, for now. And I mean, I don't know if we're going to run into a problem down the road unless the grant becomes really popular, and I hope it does. I hope it continues to be very successful. I do have a couple recommendations, but I'll save those for another day if we run into that problem, if that makes sense. Okay? Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, so that being said, this is just an information report, so thank you very much. Next, Renature request for resolution of support from the Renfrew County Catholic District School Board. Clerk Charbonneau.
Good evening. So in the report before committee today is a little bit of a refresher, but coming from a different school board. If you will recall, in August 2025, the Renfrew County District School Board and Renature Foundation reps came and provided a very detailed presentation on what the Renature Foundation does, and currently the available grant money from the FCM to provide green spaces at schools that are specifically geared towards green learning spaces. So what happens with the FCM is that no municipal funding is required, which is always a bonus. What they are looking for is simply an endorsement from council to support their grant application for the FCM program with Renature. And attached to the report, there is a detailed package about the Renature and our RCC DSB working together, just for committee's knowledge, a little bit of a refresher on what they're all about, what the spaces can look like, what they include. And also there is a letter sent from the Director of Education from the RCC DSB. Just in support of this report here tonight, staff thought it'd be best to just do a covering report in support of the Renature Foundation, along with the school board's request for committee's review and endorsement.
Thank you. I think committee members will recall the great presentation we had from the Renfrew County District School Board, and I'm really happy to see that the separate school board now is jumping on board and applying as well, because there's a lot of schoolyards in our city that are cement and could use a few trees and grass. So, Councillor Keel?
Madam Chair, I move that the Parks and Recreation Committee endorse and recommend council approval for a resolution of support for the Renfrew County Catholic District School Board's Growing Renfrew County Catholic District School Board Schoolyard Canopies with Renature program, and will happily support this. It's a wonderful program.
Do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor? Any further comments? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? It is unanimous. Thank you very much. Seeing nothing further, could I have a motion to adjourn? Councillor Keel, Deputy Mayor, all in favor? Approved.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Operations Committee meeting of February 17th. Are there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Motion to move the meeting agenda. His Worship, Deputy Mayor, those in favor? Approved. Approve of the minutes of Operations Committee meeting of January 20th. Councillor Keel, Councillor Frenier, those in favor? Approved. Any business arising from those minutes? Seeing none. Few items tonight. First, new business to Pembroke Drinking Water System 2025 Annual Water Reports. Welcome to the table, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The recommendation in this report is that the Operations Committee recommend Council accept the City of Pembroke Drinking Water System 2025 Annual Water Reports, and that the Mayor and the Chair of Operations sign and approve as indicated. There will be an enabling resolution before Council later this evening. There are no financial impacts associated with this report. And some background, in accordance with OREG, Ontario Regulation 170/03, the drinking water systems under the Safe Drinking Water Act of 2002, the owner of a drinking water system shall ensure completion of an annual report. So the report encompasses 3 different annual reports that are required by the City of Pembroke for the drinking water system. First report is the summary report per Schedule 22 of 170/03. The second is Section 11, the annual report, same regulation. And the third is the summary of raw water taking and transfer. We submitted that to the MECP in February of this year under the city's water taking permit, and that meets OREG 38704. The summary report has to be prepared no later than February 28th of each year for the preceding calendar year. The summary report is to be provided to members of Municipal Council and endorsed by a resolution of Council, which will be before Council this evening. Also included in the report is Section 11. Most notably in the Drinking Water System report is that the Pembroke Drinking Water System received an inspection rating record of 100% compliance for the 2025-2026 inspection period. Copy of the annual report will be made available to all drinking water system owners that are connected to the City of Pembroke drinking water system and whom the city provides all of their drinking water. That's namely the Township of Laurentian Valley. Section 12 of the regulations require that the reports be made available for inspection by any member of the public during normal business hours without charge. And the report will be made available for inspection at City Hall, on the city's website, and at the water purification plant. The strategic plan impact of this report is the vision of maintaining infrastructure in good condition with no major failures and providing quality services to our ratepayers. And attached to my report is the annual water reports for 2025. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Lewis, to you and staff and the people the staff and managers that run the water plant. 100% compliance is excellent. Can't get any better. So I make a motion that this committee recommend to Council to accept the Drinking Water 2025 Annual Water Reports.
Second by Councillor Frenier. Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, call the question in favor. Approved. Next up is the update on the 24-inch trunk water repair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This report is for information purposes, and I had promised to update committee on the 24-inch water main break that happened at Riverside Park in late November. So in the December report that I provided, the anticipated cost to respond and repair the break were in the range of $400,000 to $650,000. The actual costs incurred to respond and to make the repairs, not including city staff through O&M, were just over $540,000. It is detailed in the report I provided. Costs incurred from McRae Excavating to provide water for fire suppression systems at Miramichi Lodge will be invoiced to the County of Renfrew for reimbursement. So the total costs incurred after reimbursement equate to $457,000 plus applicable HST. So some background. On November 21st last year, a break occurred on the 24-inch water main. That water main feeds the city's water tower, water storage reservoir, and the city's distribution system. The break was located in the area of Riverside Park and it did cause significant water loss and low-level alarms at the water plant. The trunk water main, it is a pre-stressed concrete cylinder pipe. It's proprietary pipe. We contacted the supplier. They provided a selection of approved contractors for completion of repairs, and in discussion with the supplier and trying to determine which contractor was best suited to respond to us. R.W. Tomlinson was the selected contractor. They're qualified, they're in relative close proximity, and they were available to effect the repairs. So while the water main was isolated for repairs, and I had discussed this in the previous report in December, we brought in Pure Technologies. They completed a robotic inspection of 1.46 kilometers of the water main. That equates to 215 sections of pipe. Of the 215 sections of pipe that were inspected, only 2 pipes were identified with broken wire wraps, one having under 5 broken wire wraps and the other under 10. And for information purposes, 15 wire wraps broken in a section triggers the issue is deemed needing to be addressed in a timely manner. So it's a concrete pipe wrapped with wire and then concrete encased over top of it. That's what provides the structural integrity to that pipe. So when I'm talking about the wire wraps, you understand. So as part of the scan, a video inspection was also conducted. No observation of major structural concerns was observed as part of that review. The area of the water main where the 2 pipes are noted to have broken wraps is between the easterly limits of Riverside Park and Pembroke Street West, near Trafalgar Road. So within the existing water main easement, roughly in the area in front of Miramichi Lodge. So although the pipe is not in optimal or new condition, the inspection determined that immediate or emergency repair is not required. Staff has met with the technical team from Pure Technologies and determined a path moving forward. So as part of the 2026 construction season, we will clear the easement of trees and vegetation, and we're going to build an access road that will allow us to get construction equipment to that section of pipe. Also, Pure Technologies has recommended we do an advanced 3-dimensional model of the pipe and a structural analysis to determine the remaining useful life. And that will assist the city in managing the 2 identified pipes of concern, including confirming repair or replacement timelines. Those repairs will be budgeted in the 2027 budget cycle. Further to that, and to be proactive and mitigate risk, staff is discussing with our INS and water modeling consultant to help determine the best and most strategic approach for redundancy. So we're not just going to look at this particular main and repair this particular main. We're going to look outside of that to provide some redundancy for that main. And it could be twinning, could mean twinning that main, putting a second one in, or oversizing some of the pipes that are in the distribution system when we're doing capital projects to try and get flow, the required flow going in other directions. So basically, the amount of flow that's required to fill our storage facilities, we need to get it through a twinned pipe or through the distribution system in other locations. So that's the plan moving forward. The strategic impact of this report is to provide infrastructure in overall good condition with no expected major failures. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Keel?
I think when we discussed in December, one of the issues that caused the greatest, I think, impact of concern was the fact that Miramichi, their water was coming right off the main, I believe. Are there other areas where, in terms of the proactiveness, are there any other properties where that might be of a concern that we should also be thinking proactively about?
Through you, Mr. Chair, not through this length of pipe, that 1.47 kilometers of pipe. It basically runs from the plant up to Trafalgar Road. Once the trunk water main at Trafalgar Road, it does head up further up Trafalgar Road onto Boundary Road and down Boundary. There's other distribution lines that are connected to it.
Okay.
So we have the opportunity to flow water into that main from other directions.
Okay.
And it also gives us a bit of a better opportunity to isolate the main. Trunk water mains, you don't normally have a water valve at every block like we do in distribution, but it helps provide additional flow and we can isolate more.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any other comments? As this is for information, we'll move on. Thank you. Engagement survey, responses to rate payer questions for information.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So that was a report that I was providing to committee and council for information purposes. I wasn't planning on presenting the report, but if there are specific questions, I'm here to answer them. And if I can, Mr. Chair, the same for the next one, the roads patroller, that was also provided for information for committee.
Okay, so we'll, any questions for C or D to the council? Councillor Keel.
With respect to the engagement survey, and this, I suppose the information might come from you, Mr. Lewis, but I'm just wondering if we could work with our communications department, because, and I can't even imagine some other people around this table, it's pretty much the same questions that come up again and again and again. You know, it hasn't started snowing yet, why are they salting the roads? I know the answer to that, it's so that it can actually melt and bond with the pavement before the freezing rain comes down. I'm just wondering if maybe some of the, especially with our Facebook and whatnot, if we could maybe in the winter months just have some graphics that we can shoot out, like some frequently asked questions, basically. I mean, you answered them perfectly here, and I knew most, not all, but most of the answers from talking with you over the last 3 years. But just as a communication strategy, I'm wondering if that's something that we could perhaps throw at Ms. Sutherland with some proper answers from you, just to get those out there more as a educational tool.
So, through the chair, I'll just add briefly, we did have frequently asked questions for all of operations. With the new website, some of those pages have kind of died or got pushed aside until we can refresh those. We are working with the communications department on a communication strategy and working through those. We're also doing the same thing through public events and Public Works Week and stuff like that to try and get that information out. So we will be working further with them.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Lewis, number 3 and 4, windrows and driveways is always an issue. Some communities clear the driveway for residents with accessibility challenges. Larger cities with more money budget than us. You and I have talked about this numerous times. The comment is we'd have to buy the 1 or 2 heavy equipment, grader, and the salt truck has to follow along, and then you'd have to hire more staff. So the cost of the grader, what would be the approximate cost of buying a grader and adding more staff and everything?
So through the chair, cost of a grader is roughly between $400,000 and $500,000. I took the opportunity today to look online to see if I could price a used one, and we were still looking at $310,000 to $330,000 for a used one. We have 5 wards in the city of Pembroke, so 5 times 500,000 is a lot of money. Add to that your additional fuel, your additional maintenance on the equipment, because you're still going to have to chase that grader around town with a salt truck. You need operators, 5 wards, 5 additional operators that are going to be required. It's going to slow down the operation, so I haven't put a whole lot of thought into how much it would slow it down, but if you think that every time, and we're a very dense municipality, so every 66 feet, theoretically there's another driveway with 66-foot lots. And to drop a blade down at the end of the plow blade on a grader, you're going to have to slow down to do that. You're going to have to carry it beyond the driveway, so you have to slow down. So can we continue to do 5 wards? We may need 6 or 7 wards so that we have enough time to do the work that we need to do and clear all that. So economically, it's not a feasible operation here in the city.
And I do understand, I know you gave a report on that last term of council, but I just wanted the public to know if we could do it, we would, but the cost is not within our, not within our reach. Thank you.
Any further questions, comments? Seeing none. Then that's it for Mr. Lewis tonight. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Keel, His Worship, those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Evening, everyone. I'd like to call the striking committee to order for February 17th. Are there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda. I have the deputy mayor, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Those in favor? That is carried. We have minutes of September 16th, 2025. Moved by Councillor Plummer, seconded by Councillor Keel. Those in favor? That is carried. No closed session this evening. Running down to new business, welcome, Madam Clerk's Civic and Youth Awards Committee resignations.
Thank you, Chair. So as per standard procedure, when we receive a resignation on a committee, myself comes to the striking committee to seek direction in order to advertise for the committee position. So we have received a Civic and Youth Awards Committee member resignation, and I am here this evening to seek direction to advertise to fill that resignation.
Thank you, Councillor Keel.
Your worship, being just the time of year we are, this term is coming to an end in November, so we're well less than a year. I would move a motion that council not fill this vacancy for the duration of this term.
Okay, seconded by the deputy mayor. Any comments? Councillor Frenia, you sit on that committee, yes?
Yes, I do. And just to support the motion, we've been doing this event for several years, so it's sort of a well-oiled machine at this point. So I think to just go through the whole process of getting someone new, especially when it's the final year of this term of council as well, I think it would just be an exercise that is not necessary. So I agree. Thank you.
Okay, call the question. Those in favor? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Motion to adjourn striking. Moved by Councillor Keel, second by Deputy Mayor. Those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you. Evening, everyone. I'd like to call this council meeting to order for February 17th. I would ask those who wish and are able to please take an opportunity to stand for an opening prayer or reflection. Before opening this meeting of council, I would ask those who wish, each in your own way, silently join in a prayer of guidance over these proceedings. Thank you. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. So I'm disclosing 9A, bylaw 2026-17, assumption of ED Crescent. When we get to that point, I'll be asking the deputy mayor to take the chair for the same reasons as the last committee meeting. Robert Shepherd acts for James W. LaPointe Motor Holdings. Moving ahead to minutes, we have a number of different ones to work our way through this evening. Approval of minutes, regular meeting of council, February 3rd, 2026. Moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Those in favor? That is carried. Adoption of minutes, there's 3 this evening. First up is Parks and Recreation Committee, December 16th, 2025. I have the deputy mayor, seconded by Councillor Keel. Those in favor? That is carried. Next is Operations Committee, January 20th, 2026, moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Those in favor? That is carried. The last adoption of minutes is the Striking Committee of September 16th, 2025. I have moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Those in favor? Thank you. Then we have receiving minutes from local boards this evening. We have 2 of them. Pembroke Heritage Murals Committee, February 4th, 2026. Moved by Councillor Lafreniere, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Those in favor? That is carried. Last but not least is the Ottawa Valley Waste Management Board, November 27, 2025. Moved by Councillor Plummer and seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Those in favor? That is carried. No delegations this evening. Brings us forward to staff and committee reports. First up is the Community Improvement Plan, Delegation of Authority. Councillor Lafreniere.
Your planning and development, yeah, that's loud. Okay. Your Planning and Development Committee of Council begs to report and recommend from its meeting dated February 3rd, 2026 as follows. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ian Keel, that Council delegate authority to the Chief Administrative Officer or their designate to review and make decisions on community improvement plan applications that meet all the plan's criteria and are recommended for approval by the CIP panel. There. I'm used to going this way.
Okay, your Planning and Development Committee of Council begs to report and recommend from its meeting dated February 3rd, 2026, moved by Councillor Lafreniere, seconded by Councillor Keel, that Council delegate authority to the Chief Administrative Officer or their designate for reviewing and making decisions on the community improvement applications that meet all the plan's criteria and are recommended for approval by the CIP panel. Any discussions? Seeing none, call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Next is approval of the 2025 annual water reports. Councillor Plummer.
Thank you, Worship. Your Operations Committee of Council begs to report and recommends for the meeting held earlier this evening, moved by myself, seconded by the Deputy Mayor, the City of Pembroke accept the City of Water Drinking Water System in 2025 annual water reports, and the Mayor and Chair of Operations sign the approved as indicated.
Operations Committee of Council begs to recommend and report from its meeting held earlier this evening, moved by Councillor Plummer, seconded by the Deputy Mayor, that the City of Pembroke Council accept the City of Pembroke Drinking Water System 2025 annual water reports, and that the Mayor and Chair of Operations sign and approve as indicated. Councillor Plummer.
This was presented earlier this evening, and with the City of Pembroke scored another perfect score of 100% on our drinking water system.
Thank you. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. And the last staff and committee report this evening, growing Renfrew County Catholic District School Board schoolyard canopies. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Pat Lafreniere. Whereas the City of Pembroke has the following interest: improving their schoolyards by creating outdoor learning spaces and tree canopy environments. And whereas the Renature Foundation is undertaking the growing Renfrew County Catholic District School Board Schoolyard Canopies with Renature program, which will be building outdoor learning spaces and planting trees at the elementary schools within the County of Renfrew Catholic District School Board. Now be it resolved that the Council of the City of Pembroke acknowledges and supports the funding opportunity from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Growing Canada's Community Canopies Initiative for the Growing Renfrew County Catholic District School Board Schoolyard Canopies with Renature program, which will be building learning spaces and planting trees at the elementary schools in Renfrew County Catholic District School Board in partnership with the City of Pembroke. And the Council also recognizes that the lifetime contribution from the Growing Canada's Community Canopies Initiative will not exceed $10 million for tree planting within our municipality, inclusive of a maximum contribution of $1 million for infrastructure activity costs, and that if approved, this project will be counted towards that limit.
Parks and Recreation Committee of Council begs to report and recommend from its meeting held earlier this evening as follows. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Frenier. Whereas the City of Pembroke has the following interest of improving our schoolyards by creating outdoor learning spaces and tree canopy environments, and whereas the Renature Foundation is undertaking the growing Renfrew County Catholic District School Board's schoolyard canopies for Renature programs, which will build outdoor learning spaces and planting trees at elementary schools within the Renfrew County Catholic District School Board. Now be it resolved that the Council of the City of Pembroke acknowledges and supports the funding opportunity from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Growing Canada's Community Canopies Initiative for the growing Renfrew County Catholic District School Board schoolyard canopies with Renature programs, which will build learning spaces and planting trees at the elementary schools in Renfrew County District School Board in partnership with the City of Pembroke. That the Council also recognized that the lifetime contribution from the Growing Canada's Community Canopies Initiative will not exceed $10 million for the tree planting within our municipality, inclusive of a maximum contribution of $1 million from infrastructure activities costs, and that if approved, this project would be counted towards that limit. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship. This was presented earlier tonight by our clerk, Ms. Charbonneau, and it is a request for a sponsorship of the program. And it's an excellent program, and our council fully supports it.
Thank you. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Under proclamations, we have one this evening. By virtue of the power vested in me, I do hereby declare February 2026 as Black History Month in the City of Pembroke. Whereas on December 14, 1995, Jean Augustine, the first Black Canadian woman elected to Parliament and the Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister, requested and received the unanimous agreement of the House of Commons on her motion to declare February Black History Month in Canada. And whereas during Black History Month, we commemorate, celebrate, and recognize the achievements of Canadians of African descent and recognize their rights to equal opportunity and freedom from discrimination in Canada. And whereas Black History Month continues to provide the City of Pembroke with the opportunity to celebrate the contributions and vital role of Canadians of African descent have made to strengthen the social and cultural mosaic of the community, province, and the country. This year, Black History Month is in February. It's 30 years of Black History Month honoring Black brilliance across generations from nation builders to tomorrow's visionaries. I invite all citizens of the City of Pembroke to learn more about the history and how these individuals help and continue to help shape our history right here in the City of Pembroke. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Ron Drva, Mayor of the City of Pembroke, do hereby declare and proclaim that the month of February 2026 as Black History Month in the City of Pembroke. Bringing us to bylaws, and the first I'll call upon the Deputy Mayor, having declared a conflict on this item.
Let the minutes show that the mayor has left the table, declaring a conflict of interest. On bylaw 226-17, assumption of any present, Councillor Plummer.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor, that bylaw 2026-18, a bylaw to authorize the assumption of lifting a 1-foot reserve on Sydenham Street, the City of Pembroke, be adopted and passed, and further said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed of the corporation.
Keep going.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Plummer, seconded by Councillor Keel, that bylaw 226-18, a bylaw to authorize the assumption and lifting of a 1-foot reserve on Sydenham Street in the city of Pembroke be adopted and passed, and further, that the said bylaw be sealed with the mayor and clerk and sealed the corporation. Councillor Plummer?
So for this one, is for Sydenham, now that the city, the street has been assumed, the 1-foot reserve along Sydenham cul-de-sac can be removed. The 1-foot reserve is a strip of land that measures approximately 1 foot by 0.3 meters wide. The proposed 1-foot reserve is to control development by restricting access until all the services, draft conditions, and financial obligations have been met by developer. So now that's been completed, it can be lifted.
Okay. Call the question. Those in favor? Carried. No, Eddie Crescent? Councillor Keel?
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Lafreniere, that bylaw 2026-17, a bylaw to assume and authorize the lifting of the 1-foot reserve on Eddy Crescent in the city of Pembroke be adopted and passed, and further that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Ian Keel, seconded by Councillor Pat Lafreniere, that bylaw 226-17, a bylaw to assume and authorize the lifting of the 1-foot reserves on Eddy Crescent in the city of Pembroke be adopted and passed, and further, that said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Keel?
As Councillor Plummer just stated, it is common practice when there's development going on, particularly subdivisions, that a 1-foot reserve be retained by the municipality until the completion of the works. In this case, with respect to Eddy Crescent, the works have been completed to the city's satisfaction, and therefore it is time to release the 1-foot reserve.
Thank you. So Mayor Survey will return to the table.
We need to vote.
Oh, we need to vote, yes. Those in favor? Carried. Sorry about that. Mayor Survey will return to the table.
Matters 2026-19, ZBA 0 Bennett Street. Councillor Keel.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Lafreniere, that bylaw 2026-19, a bylaw to amend bylaw 2020-05 of the Corporation of the City of Pembroke, being a bylaw to regulate the use of lands and the character, location, and use of buildings and structures in the City of Pembroke, be adopted and passed, and further that said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by Councillor Lafreniere, that bylaw 2026-19, a bylaw to amend bylaw 2020-05 of the Corporation of the City of Pembroke, being a bylaw to regulate the use of lands and the character, location, and use of buildings and structures in the City of Pembroke, be adopted and passed, and further that said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Keel.
Your Worship, this was discussed at our last planning meeting, and essentially it's a bylaw to amend a particular area, the old railway up off of Bennett Street, from an open space to a residential type 4 holding zone. Not much more to say given how it was discussed at the last meeting.
Thank you. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Bylaw 2026-20, Fire Protection Grant. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Pat Lafreniere, the bylaw 226-20, a bylaw to authorize the entering into a fire protection grant transfer payment agreement between the City of Pembroke and the Province of Ontario to be adopted and passed, and further that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
Thank you. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Lafreniere, that bylaw 2026-20, a bylaw to authorize the entering into a fire protection grant transfer payment agreement between the City of Pembroke and the Province of Ontario be adopted and passed, and further said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. This bylaw will complete the agreement between the city and the Province of Ontario, allowing the city to enter into a transfer payment agreement with the province to acquire the funds to support the health and safety of our firefighters through minor infrastructure improvement. This will also enhance the level of safety for our fire personnel, ensuring optimum fire protection services are provided. This is year 2 of the fire protection grant, and the focus remains on firefighter health and safety, specifically cancer prevention, submitted by Chief Scott Sell.
Thank you. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. There are no motions this evening nor correspondence, bringing us to Mayor's Report. Good evening, everyone. I wish to bring forward my Mayor's Report at this time. On February 5th, I had the pleasure of attending the official ribbon cutting of the Renfrew County Heart Hub with the CEO and Councillor Purcell. I'll simply say that I was so pleased with the partnerships that we have made this term and the outstanding work that has been accomplished by those partnerships. Those partnerships have taken a significant amount of time to build, but they are so worth it. I had no idea as to the amount of work that gets put into forming these different partnerships, but to tour that facility, it's simply nice to see, as we were talking about earlier, the silos being torn down and seeing the great work that's happening. On February 4th, the Police Services Board had their meeting. The acting inspector, who was here this evening, was introduced to our board, and the new staff sergeant, which is Tina Davenport. Among other items, the board reviewed the Q4 data. Generally speaking, numbers, as was indicated this evening, are trending down. The inspector indicated that there will be a focus on traffic initiatives, as she indicated this evening, and new officers coming our way. On February 5th, the Pembroke and Laurentian Valley Handy Bus had their AGM. It was a very good meeting. As everyone knows, this specialized system provides transportation to seniors and to those with intellectual and physical challenges in both Pembroke and Laurentian Valley. The Board of Directors is planning a great new fundraising event that we think that people will enjoy, and would ask that people stay tuned, watching their Facebook profile. February 11th, the Community Services Committee met, which is a County of Renfrew committee. I'm happy to provide some details at this time that I think that the council will find informative. The number of households on the community housing list is almost 2,000 individuals, resulting in an 8 to 10 year wait list. In relation to the emergency assistance clients and their HBP program, there in 2025 was 140 emergency assistance clients and 705 HBP clients. We were informed that in respect to the Heart Hub, the intake in January alone, there was 43 unique visits, so highly utilized, and this confirms my thoughts that we need more services, not less. Over the Family Day weekend, and I look forward to the various comments by committee members, I would simply say that it was nice to see so many different families and children enjoying themselves here in the beautiful city of Pembroke, and so well done to staff and volunteers for all the and organizations for all to make this happen. On another note, in respect to the county's 2026 budget, and I will provide it to staff so that they can make copies for the council members. We were presented with the 2026 County of Renfrew budget overview. It's an interesting, it's similar to what we do in terms of having a pie chart and talking about the 247 million and where our 5 million fits into it, and just the cost of what it takes to operate all the different programs that the County of Renfrew runs. Of particular note is they have for 2026 priorities: financial sustainability, infrastructure renewal, housing stability, and community wellness. So that's in the package so that staff can make that available to everybody. Further, a note about our post-secondary institutions. And so for those who have not heard, a large announcement was made on February 12th regarding post-secondary institutions. Highlights are that the 7-year tuition freeze has now been lifted, $6.4 billion in new funding. Post-secondary can now raise tuition 2% for 3 years and 2% for 3 years thereafter. A stronger, more sustainable OSAP program, $284 million in dedicated funding for small regional and northern institutions. I'm very pleased with the Ontario government and our MPP Deneau. This clearly proves that the advocacy at the legislature with the Eastern Ontario Mayor's Caucus, as well as AMO and Roma that we've had delegates go to, certainly is making an impact. Very pleased, and I communicated that to our MPP to pass that along, that very pleased with the efforts that we've made, and as well the fact that the province is listening. Further, I've communicated with the Dean of the Waterfront College. They indicate that they're just working together and trying to look at what this is going to mean for their facility. And as I understand it, the college has suspended their suspension of the 3 programs here at the Algonquin College, pending how this is going to shake out. And so, as always, stay safe and be kind to one another. Are there any notices of motion? Seeing none. Councillor updates. Councillor Keel.
Thank you, Your Worship. On February 7th, I had the opportunity to attend at Streetlight Theatre for their Volunteer Appreciation Gala. Our local theatre company certainly does some fabulous productions. Anyone that was able last year to see Chicago knows that it's top of the line product that we get from Streetlight Theatre, and it was great to celebrate all of the many volunteers that make Streetlight Theatre happen. And I know later this year, I believe in November, there's going to be Streetlight Theatre performance at Festival Hall, along with their other performances at the old TV station. This past weekend, I don't know what to say about Snow Spree, Your Worship. It was fundamentally fantastic. The credit that needs to go to everybody in our Parks and Rec department, from the director on down to the programmers, on down to the frontline workers. From Friday to Monday, there was everything from free skating at the PMC to curling at the curling center, which I did partake in, Councillor Lafreniere, and it has proved to be the most popular Facebook photo I've ever posted of myself.
Like a pro.
Me looking athletic, I'll tell you, that's something no one saw coming. Skating at Rotary Park, 2 movies at Festival Hall, Snow Spree Central, of course, at the PMC yesterday. It was, I can only presume that we are talking about hundreds, if not thousands of attendees over the course of the week. I can't say enough about it. I certainly hope that everyone was able to partake in it. I certainly look forward next year. I don't know, Your Worship, I just don't know what else to say. It was such a good Snow Spree this year, and I am so thankful to our staff and to all of the people that participated. Sunday night, I did attend the Steve-O production at Festival Hall. That was different, Your Worship. It certainly it was funny, it was weird, it was everything that I suppose one would expect from Steve-O, but it's certainly nice to have some international talent coming to Pembroke. That's all I'm going to say about that show, because it was different. It was different. Upcoming at Festival Hall, February 21st. I hope everybody will partake in going to the Pembroke Symphony Orchestra. They have their winter show. On March 1st, a Valley St. Patrick celebration with Gillen Roots and a bunch of other local talent. This is, in some ways, we could probably call this the second annual version of this event. Last March there was one, and it was very well subscribed, and it was a very good show. It's great to see our local talent, and I can't say enough about Gillen Roots either. He's one of our great storytellers, musicians. He can put on a great show. March 7th, the Ottawa Valley Talent Showcase. So there was, earlier this year, there was, you could submit your videos to participate in the talent show, and this is the finalists. I believe there's 20 some finalists, so that will be a great show. This is the third time that this show will be on. And then March 8th, the Barra McNeil's 40th anniversary tour. Again, a very popular group coming back here to the city of Pembroke. And Your Worship, there are still 20 further shows in the winter and spring, and already 10 shows on the fall calendar. And I know from my inside knowledge sitting on the Festival Hall Consortium that that is not the end. As a matter of fact, in speaking with Councillor Roots from Petawawa, who has long been involved with Festival Hall, this might be the first time where we are actually having to stop bookings because there are so many things coming to Festival Hall. A good problem, great problem to have. It sounds like the hall has never been busier than it is now. And we, I believe it's March 17th, we will be having a delegation from Festival Hall to provide you with further information and to provide this council with an update. Thank you.
Other councillor updates? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship. I wasn't able to attend the opening of the SOPA on Friday due to work commitment, but Mary and I went down Friday night, and what a celebration. Delicious food and great music by the Ghost Buskers. Alan Harden is their lead vocal and guitarist, and it was very packed. They had to turn people away. But we want to congratulate Louiana and her staff for such a great opening and having the confidence in being in downtown Pembroke. Sunday, the Germania Club, Krista Cleese, Valley Markets and Events, the Snow Street Market was full, and we saw Pemby there. He was with Councillor Keel, taking him around. That was great to see. And delicious soup by Harvest Moon Kitchen, Christine Kamka, who's located right across from Astrid's in the old taxi stand. So just magnificent soup. Yesterday, my colleague and friend, Miss Lochte, and I were beside the city booth of the mayor and Councillor Keel, and Councillor Plummer and LaFreniere dropped by, and very successful. We were promoting the Ottawa River Transit, and the survey was there with the kiosk, and the survey deadline is February 22nd. We have paper ones available at City Hall, and we also have a kiosk at the library, so we're asking people to fill it in, and many positive comments about the transit. I want to read a letter I sent to the Eganville Leader. It's heartbreaking to think the Ottawa Valley without the Eganville Leader. By month's end, this beloved paper, a true heartbeat of our communities for over a century, will publish its final edition. Leaving a silence where its pages once brought us together. We want to pour out our deepest thanks to Gerald Tracy and his family for decades of unwavering dedication, professionalism, and heart. Gerald wasn't just a publisher, he was the soul of local journalism, master storyteller who captured the raw joy of our fairs, the quiet strength of our farmers, and the unbreakable spirit of the Ottawa Valley families through every ink-stained edition. To Gerald's family, the leader's talented staff, contributing writers, weekly subscribers, advertisers, and the many vendors who made sure readers could pick up their weekly copy at local shops and newsstands, we say thank you. Your shared commitment kept the stories flowing, the conversations alive, and the community connected week after week. Together, you turned a small town paper into a Valley institution. The Leader wasn't just news, it was our memory keeper, our mirror, our rallying cry, connecting us across generations, and reminding us of who we are when the world felt too big. We should note that when the Pembroke Observer went to a weekly and scaled down, Gerald picked up the pace and they did more Pembroke coverage, and we really appreciate that. Beyond the newsroom, Gerald's boundless community spirit shone in his leadership for projects like Fairfield's retirement residence and Hospice Renfrew, where compassion impacted countless lives. Gerald, as someone who knew you, as we who knew you, and saw your passion up close, will forever cherish what you built. From all of us in Pembroke and across the Ottawa Valley and the nation, thank you for giving us a legacy that no digital scroll can replace. You made us matter. Wishing you and everyone, the Leader, the very best in your post-Eganville Leader years. Editor's note, the Leader's success and popularity with many can be attributed to the input of previous publishers, Patty McHugh, Ambrose and Sylvester Tracy, and Ron Tracy, former journalists, and to remarkably dedicated and committed staff, both current and past. So, Ingeval Leader Institution, it's going to be sorry to see it go unless we don't know, maybe it's been something behind the scenes, but I hope so. But a tribute to Gerald Tracy and his family and publishers and staff. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any further updates? If not, Councillor Fernie, I understand you have a motion to move into a closed session.
I do. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ian Keel, that this meeting become a closed meeting to discuss proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of lands by the municipality as per Section 239(2)C of the Municipal Act regarding A, offer to purchase Trans-Can Corporate Park, B, offer to purchase Trans-Can Corporate Park. Oh.
So moved by Councillor Fernie, seconded by Councillor Keel, that this meeting become a closed meeting to discuss proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of lands by the municipality as per Section 239(2)C of the Municipal Act regarding offer to purchase Trans-Canada Corporate Park A and B. Those in favor? That is carried. We'll now move into a closed session.